Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the BytesBurn Podcast, and I am your host Idris Lawal. And with me today is my amazing co-host Stacey Onuora. And today we are looking at a similar topic like what we discussed last week, because we have yet another cybersecurity breach, and this time it is the CAC, the Corporate Affairs Commission, that has been breached. Um, Stacey, last week we looked at the Sterling Bank and Remita breach, and what we got from last week was that the NDPC was, going conducting an investigation about where this breach might have come from or what happened and all of that. But I don't think we've gotten any solid response yet from the NDPC as to what exactly happened, how far the breach went, and what has been affected. And this week we got another information of a breach by the same actor. His nickname or moniker was BytesToBreach, and that has been making the rounds again. What do you think about this? Because now we have two key institutions being breached, and there's a lot of course there's a lot of personal information, PIs that have been pulled out of this CAC hack that has been done. The If you look at some of the data, in fact, this bytes to breach person or group of persons published sample data of the breach, just to show that
They
they
triggered
actually did the breach, right? And you see a lot of NINs, people's passports, and all of that. What do you make of this so far?
Yeah, I think it's data is so important, right? With somebody's data, it could do a lot of harm. And like we already spoke about the one that happened with Sterling Bank and Remita, and the NDPC still investigating that. And now we have another one this week. If they've not reached a conclusion on that one, when will they start investigating this one? And this one happened this week. I think CAC had released their statement on Wednesday, just talking about the breach and having people, change their login and password and stuff like that. But based on the information we saw, the data that the that Byte Breach had released shows that to an extent it seems quite valid, right? And like you mentioned, NIN, passport, these are things that you could use to conduct impersonation, theft,
Yeah,
blackmail, and people, and these are also critical, in your financial data as well. So I think the NDPC, I don't know the rate at which you're working, but they need to do it and do it fast, because it looks like ByteBurn is on a mission to access people's data and possibly sell it to, bad actors,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
systems by systems, and it's like, oh, you need to stop this person from accessing people's data, and you need to take it seriously.
Yeah, I think
That's it.
a major problem that we have in this part of the world is that things like cybersecurity are not taken very seriously, because they sometimes they some of these government agencies, if you look at how they build this some of these services, you could tell that it is very porous in terms of how the systems are built, and having this much trove of information, and not taking cybersecurity. Even we were talking about last week that there's a lot of sophisticated tools now. Even with the rise of AI, it is now much easier. Somebody can just get an LLM that is uncensored and create some very dangerous tools that they can use to breach systems. Many organizations around the world are prioritizing cybersecurity and ensuring that their systems are much more secured. But I think it's just unfortunate that we don't take it so seriously in this part of the globe, and with it's showing now, right, with the amount of hacks that have been done.
Yeah.
Who's going to take responsibility for this, for all of this hack that has been done? We have NDPR that stipulates the type of things that are supposed to happen in terms of when a cybersecurity breach occurs and all of that. But it does not seem like the NDPC is really enforcing any of these things. We'll see. Maybe they are still, investigating and trying to come up with the facts. We'll see in the coming weeks. But I think the response has been quite reactive and very slow.
Exactly. And I mean for like an organization as big as CST, like a lot of Nigerians are business owners. They register their business, they get their CSC. That's literally a lot of Nigerian people's
Yeah.
data just
Yeah.
out there, and like I don't know, I just feel like they're not putting enough effort into it. And then we shouldn't wait for another breach to happen for them to say, oh, they're investigating that one as well. Because like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
said, it looks like is an
Yeah.
option.
That's the funny thing. They would wait. So this breach has happened. Nobody's fixing. Nobody's doing anything to mitigate, or we just hear there's an investigation. But are we going to hear when what exactly they've done to patch that breach, or how they are taking steps to ensure things like that don't occur again in any other sector or
Yeah.
organization, which I think not given our history of how we handle these things. It's probably just going to die down, and when another breach occurs they start investigating again. It's quite sad. It's quite worrying that that's the case, because people's personal information can basically be used to impersonate them, can be used to do all kinds of harm to individuals. And
Yeah.
this is just out there in the open, on the dark web, available for anybody to purchase.
I feel
uh,
like they need to take action, right? Because people don't understand. Like you could use people's data to do anything, social engineering. Like I have your date of birth, I have your place of birth, I have your age. Like that's a lot of information that you could use to engineer attacks on someone, and then they'd be wondering, oh, how did you get this information? Not knowing that an organization that I trusted with my data had that leaked, or had a
yeah.
breach that allowed that to be accessible on
Yeah.
the internet.
Yeah. And the publish went as far as publishing entire databases of users' data. The one of the sites that they used to publish their sample data leak showed like an entire, like you have like a user's table, like a table that's fundamental to the application, just publish users information and their password hash, basically what you would export from a database. That means they had so much access that they even went down to the database. Aside the files, that's a lot of worrying information that has been leaked. Even if you change your password at this point, I don't think it helps anything. I mean,
Yeah, when I said the password change, I was like, okay,
what?
what's that supposed to
Yeah, I mean, they've already pulled out the data. It's offline on their systems. It's quite worrying, and we've still not known the extent to which the Sterling Bank and the Remita one happened. And this same actor has had enough time to even go breach another system.
do?
Who knows what he's going to do next?
And like you said, with where we are with AI, like that becomes like quite easier to do the stuff
Yeah.
to fight the vulnerabilities, and then use those vulnerabilities to get access to the data. So I'm like, And the another thing that we mentioned, is that okay, do we get updates that okay, this thing has been fixed? Because if we're not getting updates, who says that if I want to put my data on the system now, like I register my CSC, I want to put my system on data now, even new data wouldn't be accessible to these people.
Yeah, and I don't think it's I don't think we lack the ability to do that. I think it's willing to take the right step to do the right things. For a lot of these portals and all that, the steps that were taken to maybe assign the contract or pick the right type of contractor that can do proper job, or for people who are even at the helms of affairs to know that what is important in these digital systems. It's quite worrying that this is 2026 and we still are not able to get some of these basic things right. It is not even it's not so difficult, to prevent some of these basic hacks, but your not the agencies not being at the forefront of understanding what exactly needs to happen to prevent this types of hack is a problem, because if they don't understand what the current cybersecurity trends are and what the CVEs are and some of the patches that has already been done to constantly patch and maintain these systems, it means we are basically exposed to even a lot more stuff. We have just one actor that's been doing this hack. Who knows if other actors are incentivized by this to say, oh, it's like a lot of the organizations in Nigeria or government agencies are unsecure and are unprotected. Let's try, and dig up more stuff, because that's what it to eventually, because this is like how many acts in just a few span of a few weeks. It is going to definitely incentivize more bad actors to come and dig up more trove of information. And
Who's even to say that there are not others, but this one just came out to say I did it. Other people
yeah,
might not
possibly.
come out to say that they did it, but they
Yeah,
are like having
true.
that data.
We can only hope that there's a remediation plan in place by this by the Corporate Affairs Commission. But if not, we it's really worrying, that we have this kind of a breach. Okay, so that's it for this week, and we'll keep you updated on the progress and the investigation and all of that based on what we get from the NDPC or the CAC about these hacks. Hopefully we get them remediated soon, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye bye.
Yeah.